The upset against Kansas State this afternoon. Jack Martin kicks it away, and here we go from lovely Houston. This will sail through the end zone. And here come the Wildcats. Avery Johnson, who's been described by his coaches as humble but confident. Not only can the running backs run, the quarterbacks can in this game too.
Yeah, he is one lean, mean, twitchy athlete. Right, just at field level. I don't know if I've seen one this year. He's about 190 pounds. He's battling a little bit of sickness early in the week, but he is a dynamic, athletic guy. You're going to see some film later in the show of him dunking a basketball in high school. Special kind of athlete and a special kind of leader, as Allison pointed to as well.
Now we have to get it into the telecast now that you teased it. Giddens next to him, and Johnson will throw. It goes to the motion man, Keegan Johnson, and he is crunched on the first touch of the ball game. Jeremiah Wilson with the stop. Kansas State, talking about lean and mean, this offensive line.
Yeah, Carver Willis just 290 pounds, but runs 77 as well as anybody I've seen. Topped over 17 miles an hour on the field last week, but they average less than 300 pounds, so they're going to move that ball sideline to sideline. You will see all of those skill positions, and at times, two backs, both Edwards and Giddens on the field together.
And multiple tight ends for a chunk of the game as well. It's a very deep tight end room for Kansas State. There are two on the far side, Swanson and then Ancio. And here is a handoff for Giddens, and he is met in the hole. He drives the legs forward to the 30-yard line. It'll be third down coming up. That's a fired-up Hershey McLaurin after the play.
Yeah, Keith Cooper is a good one, 6'5", nearly 300 pounds. This is a physical front seven. You can ask Utah about it because last week they got after the Utes. Batten in the middle, leads this team in tackles, runs sideline to sideline, former quarterback himself. And watch for Halsey. He is basically another linebacker playing strong safety, physical defense.
He's also got 4 interceptions. He is a ball hawk in that secondary. Batten up to the line on third down and 5. He will back off. Johnson looking this way, and he does have the first down for Jaden Jackson.
Yeah, this is nice. One of the keys when you watch Avery, it's like a lot of young quarterbacks, the balance in the feet. Matt Wells, former head coach at Texas Tech, consultant last couple years at Oklahoma, really works with him. He's their passing game coordinator, but it all starts from the ground, especially when you're that athletic. Good fundamentals there, and a nice third down conversion.
Here's one of those two back sets you were talking about. Dylan Edwards is into the ball game, and he's got it. They string him out wide. Batten is in there. Jamal Morris as well. It's a loss of 1.
Yeah, this is a fast-flying crew. Batten can really go 21 miles an hour, in fact, a week ago on the field. And you're going to see him right here. He does a great job of getting around blocks. You can see his speed beats Portier to the spot. And with it, well, a number of Cougars. That's 2 runs that have basically gone for nothing.
This is a top 25 overall defense for Houston. It has kept them into this season as a possible bowl team. 2nd and 11 for Avery Johnson. With time to scan, he throws it over the middle, and he's got Johnson. It is a first down.
Nice job there, just a 3-man rush. So Houston kind of throwing some different looks at the young quarterback. At that time, Keegan Johnson, the transfer from Iowa, he reads zone, QB reads zone, shows him the numbers, and once again, a first down through the air.
Year 2 at Kansas State for Keegan Johnson. Avery Johnson taking over for Will Howard, who you saw earlier today beat Penn State on the road. Avery, a Kansas native, hands it off for Giddens this time. 2nd down coming up. This is one of the best rushing offenses in all of the FBS. The explosive plays, talking to Houston's coaches, they said the explosive plays are flipped from what you normally see. There's a long line of runs.
Well, that's what happens when your offensive coordinator and play caller is an O-line coach. And Connor Riley is upstairs in the booth. He calls the plays. He knows it all starts at the line of scrimmage. And that run game sets the table for an RPO and a play-action game that can equally be devastating.
Late substitution. Cooper came off, forcing K-State into a late snap. Edwards in motion. Play action to him. Johnson climbing the pocket. He shakes by 1. He's got the first down and gets out of bounds.
Yeah, and oftentimes with really athletic quarterbacks, Jason, you'll see them flush one way. They'll have a tendency. Maybe they'll flush to their right or to their left. But I'll tell you, one of the strengths of Avery is he steps up into that pocket. He don't care that he's 190 pounds and he's slight. He knows if I can pierce a defense by stepping up, number one, it keeps my eyes open to the whole field, and then I can go right and left.
Which he did both on that play, as Edwards is the tailback on first down. Edwards does get the edge this time, and he is wrangled out of bounds by Wilson. So Dylan Edwards, one of those guys who, when you play at Kansas State and you're 5'9", people say Darren Sproles.
Yes.
Right? And then you start returning kicks for touchdowns, and people say Darren Sproles.
And then you become a 1-2 punch with DJ Giddens, and defenses say nightmare.
That's right. I thought you were going to say Darren Sproles again. 2nd and 7. Loads of time in the pocket again for Avery Johnson. A little juggle, and it's finally caught by Jackson. 3rd and short. I should amend that. There are some people who might say Deuce Vaughn.
True.
Because of the last couple years.
Well, this program has done that for generations.
Yeah, that's right.
They take any type and size and shape and make them go. And Jaden Jackson, also a transfer from Ole Miss a couple years ago.
They're going to give him the first down. That looks like a generous spot to me, but they will stay with it. This is a lot like Penn State's opening drive in our first game earlier today. That ended in a field goal. This is Giddens. And when he gets to the second level, he is a real danger. And this line's just going to shove him forward into a stalemate. It looks like he'll have another first down.
Well, and when you get this kind of movement from guard to guard here, watch this. Watch Sam Heck, the former walk-on center, actually move and displace that defensive lineman. If you get that time it was Stillman, and that kind of movement, you get it from Panzer, the left guard. Good job up front.
Panzer's 35th straight start, as there is a miss, and then Johnson took a hit from Halsey, and that's going to be a marker coming in. A.J. Halsey put the shoulder into Johnson. Kind of needlessly at first look. And maybe the replay will show us something else, but
I told you he's kind of a linebacker, that Halsey. Look at him. He's 215 pounds. Had a game a few years ago as a Lobo with 24 tackles in one game.
It's a lot.
Personal foul, late hit, number 2, defense. Half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
I think your analysis was spot on. You'll see him right here after the play, just a little slant route. It's a little high, and you just don't need it.
Be careful for targeting on that kind of thing, too. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, that was no acting job either. I mean, he just knocked him right off his feet. He's going to draw the penalty.
First down. That's a fake. It's Johnson. Hopping to the outside. What a cut from a quarterback, and he's down to the 4-yard line. You hear about Giddens and his ability to jump cut. This is jagged.
Yeah, and once again, where does he attack? He attacks up the field. After the play action, he doesn't mess around. I go north and south, and then boom, I go east to west. And I do it with just superior quickness.
That offensive line is a big part of the reason they have been such a good red zone offense under Chris Klieman and the tight end position.
Yeah, the tight ends are devastating. 10 touchdown receptions, the most of any tight end group in America.
Garrett Oakley is unattached from the formation, one of those tight ends. Johnson looking that direction. Back of the end zone, incomplete for Jackson. 3rd down.
Yeah, that's the second one that has sailed a little high, and when Avery misses, that's typically his miss. I think sometimes he can be a little bit upright as a passer and not get over the top and through that throw.
His arm or his body?
Yeah, just kind of the whole operation, right? Just not, yeah, when he misses high, which can be a little dangerous at times.
Play number 14 of the drive. 2 tight ends again. Johnson, end zone, back line, that's incomplete for Brown. There's a hat down, and so a marker comes in. He was the first guy to touch the ball after he left the field of play. Wilson on the coverage. First signal came from Kentrell Webb, the safety. We'll hear from the officials in a moment. I think it's incomplete anyway, is what the official on the far side is saying. Rich Almiroth.
Yeah, he's out of bounds anyway. Jace didn't see that back line too well.
There is no foul on the play. The receiver was out of bounds and did not reestablish. Third down.
He was never inbounds when he caught it.
Nope. So the roommate, he could read him, he could see him. He was just out of the field of play, and he's going to look back at that tape, and it should have been the 11th touchdown to a tight end. He had Will Swanson wide open right in front of him. But that's one thing that Avery will do at times. He will really stick with his roommate, his buddy that he came in with, Jace Brown.
Yep.
Missed opportunity for the Wildcats.
Now got him a win at Colorado. In this case, he's out of the end zone. 23 yards away, Chris Tennant, who had the game winner last week in the Sunflower Showdown against Kansas, and he puts K-State on the board. A nearly 7-minute drive on the first touch for either team after the delay, and Houston will have it next.
I think very different scheme and a good look there. And Avery Johnson and Matt Wells, the passing game coordinator, going over the plays, going over what they saw. I bet you they looked at the little tablet and said, you actually had Swanson right over the ball for a touchdown. Just hang on those tight ends a little bit longer, especially in the red zone where they have been such weapons.
Will be returnable for Makai Muse, a star wide receiver for them, gets to the 24-yard line. We'll introduce you to Zeon Chriss and the Houston offense when we come back. Kansas State, Brock.
Yeah, they're fired up. The one area statistically where K-State's super dominant in this game is situations. Red zone, third down, statistically been so much better. Got to dominate it. And for Houston, as I said, in my anatomy of an upset, they're going to have to outrun the Wildcats. And in particular, Zeon Chriss, the quarterback who loves to run it anyway.
What do you think of the Geckos pass form?
Not bad.
Okay, thank you. It's a handoff on first down. Jamarian Burnett. The carry. It's the 10th FBS start for Zeon Chriss. He's a transfer from Louisiana. He was the backup until a couple weeks ago, but his run ability has him the job in part.
17 carries a week ago.
See how many he gets to today against the Kansas State defense that has that 3-3-5 look that's in vogue in the Big 12. That's a design run very clearly. They'll step outside, and he does end up with a handful of yards. Third down and medium coming up. This offensive line is from everywhere.
Yeah, 4 of the 5 starters, Jake Wiley, in fact, a couple different spots, have come from other schools. He's played the most consistent ball. Hunter, the homegrown kid. And then outside, they've got to take some shots. I just want to hear you say, man, Jack, touchdown. I think the country wants to see it. He had 6 of them a year ago, 3 this year, but got to find more opportunities to take shots at number 0.
That sounds like a cartoon. It's third down and 6. Zeon Chriss scanning, holding, now running. Chriss dodges for the first down and ends up all the way across the 35.
This is going to be a tough one for Austin Romaine eventually to watch on tape tomorrow. Just a 3-man rush, right? Keep him in the pocket as best you can, but the one-on-one right there is going to be some hard tape. They say the eye in the sky doesn't lie, and for Mr. Romaine, just reaching for air.
It's tough. Open field like that?
Against a tremendous athlete. I mean, Chris can really run. And we had fun with Kevin Barbay, the OC, yesterday. Do you expect to run him as much? Yes, sir. He likes to run.
He said he's going to run the ball. Yep. And he has very early. Oh, my goodness. Well, there's your bounce back.
Yes.
A crisp tackle from the linebacker, Romaine.
That's exactly how you shut me up. Okay, you're going to show me fall on my face? You better show me when I shoot that A-gap and I bust right through and I take that freshman out. I don't care he's 220 pounds. Run right through that tackle.
That's a window into the Kansas State program.
That's right.
There.
A little bit of adversity, get knocked down, you pick yourself up, and most importantly, flush that play. You know you're going to get beat at times, but keep competing, keep responding.
With a chip on the shoulder while you're at it. Makai Muse breaks 1 tackle in the backfield, a 2nd tackle in the backfield. Too many Wildcats. Riley nearly had him the 2nd time. It's a loss of 2. And this Kansas State defense, former walk-on Brendan Mott, sack leader in the Big 12.
Yeah, pretty darn impressive as he's built himself up over 6 years. Right behind him, Austin Moore as well, captain of that defense, also a 6-year guy, over 200 career tackles. And then a secondary that can fly around, and you move them all over. VJ Payne, a very aggressive blitzer. And at 6'3", 210 pounds, he is a force.
3rd and long is not a fun down for Houston. It's not a great 3rd down team at all. Chris feeling the pressure, and down he goes. There he is, Brendan Mott.
Yeah, and it's all just want to. I mean, you watch so many of these plays, and yeah, he knows how to use his hands and his feet. He does right there with some length right off the jump. And then, well, he's not going to miss that sack. What is that, number 8 now on the season? Put on a show for the former walk-on from Iowa City.
He was 5'2" as a freshman in high school.
105 pounds.
That means I could tackle him.
Well,
give me one, Brock. One for a season, and eventually I'm going to pick this up. And that didn't seem like a grand idea.
Nah, I got hit a little bit earlier, so I think the veteran there,
yeah. All right, here we go.
You could have tackled him.
Thank you. Good for Booth camaraderie.
That can be a fun game to play.
Well, he told us he was a better dunker than shooter. Yep. He was very clear about that, but
and still loves to play.
That I was just about to say. You can see in his eyes when he talks about basketball, he still loves the game. He's got 2 very good tailbacks next to him, Edwards and Giddens, both going the same direction. It's Edwards, and he is dropped. Hershey McLaurin absolutely detonated it.
Yeah, and he is such a weapon, and a key weapon in this scheme in particular, because he's both a strong side linebacker, he's right here, and he's also a nickelback. He doesn't have to come off the field. You put 2 backs, you put kind of a run formation, fine. I can play linebacker, I'm 210 pounds. You're going to put 3 receivers, I got to play in space and play in the nickel, great. Being a positionless guy with that versatility is so key to defense today.
He was a 4-year high school starting quarterback. He was the team's basketball MVP as well. McLaurin was. And so Giddens goes down. But you saw the improvement of this Houston defense already for Shieldwood.
Yeah, they're just physical. That was Gant that time. They'll rotate some of their linebackers, but they just don't get overwhelmed. Shieldwood right there. He's carved a cool path in his career from Wofford to Army to Tulane. Yeah, he's about to bench press something right there.
He is.
Yep, look at that. He's repping it out, and whatever he is doing, he's been calling the last 3 weeks in particular. This has been just a salty, salty defense.
Very strong 3rd down defense, top 40 in the country. Johnson will spin it out wide. Edwards a low catch, and he's going to get hemmed in. That was a salty series.
Yep.
Kendra Gant again.
Well, I think there was a little conversation. You know, you had a delay. You're sitting in your locker room for a while. You let Kansas State really dictate and move that ball, do what they wanted to do on that opening drive. A little different stinger, a little different energy from the Cougars on drive number 2. And here you go. Here's flipping the field. Here's your chance in the special teams game. If you're going to upset this team, don't be neutral. Find a way to win it.
Makai Muse has a 75-yard return for a touchdown on a punt earlier this year. The Georgia transfer. This is such a high kick. It won't be returnable, but that's a plus.
Flip the field
for Houston. Yep. 3 tackles for loss on the drive for Houston's defense. They'll get it back.
I think he'd be a great basketball coach too.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he would. Of just like, hey man, if I don't have all the size or the length or the quickness, like find ways, devise schemes to give my guys a chance.
He said over and over again with us in his previous stops, do more with less. There's a screen. They run about a quarter of the time screens in their pass game, and Stephon Johnson has this one.
Yeah, this is a hard team to screen with 3 down linemen and then basically 8 other people with eyes to the ball. And those guys at the 3rd level, right, those safeties, the extra safety that just fly. And oh, by the way, Mott is pretty good at sniffing those out too.
That was the first non-negative play in the last 7 in this game, as the freshman DJ Butler is checked in as the tailback. He's got just 6 carries all year. There's number 7. And he keeps his feet nicely off the first attempted tackle by Romaine. It'll be 3rd down and doable.
I saw both Romaine and Austin Moore try to go to the legs right there, the true freshman. This is what you're going to see. You are going to see a grinder. Right, the weather kind of fits, I think, the style of this game. It is going to be a wet, windy day, And Houston anyway doesn't care. This is the way that they play, the way they beat Utah a week ago. Is just don't go backwards. And oh, by the way, now at 3rd and 4, more than likely in 4-down territory because they're aggressive on that down as well.
And they run a lot on 3rd down, as they will here. It's a power run for the quarterback behind Sanford, and Chris will set up a 4th down and short. And I would imagine you're right here, Brock, that was a play for 2 plays.
Yeah, and I know Willie Fritz gives his coordinator the down and distance to get to. You get to this down, you get to this distance to Kevin Barbay and says, we're going to go for it here. And this is exactly the way. 3-0, grinding this game, grinding out these possessions, exactly what Willie Fritz wanted to do this afternoon. Get this game in the second half while it's close, and all the pressure falls on the visitors.
They might have to set fire to a timeout here, though, because of the substitution pattern. They will get it off. Chris on the roll. He's going to throw it, and he's got Manjack. He is just short.
Possibly, but this has been an area they struggled, in fact, did a week ago.
Donovan Smith is in to play quarterback for this play, and he will keep, and he will fire in for the touchdown.
Yeah, this is design QB run all the way. Malik Carr, the 6'6", 265-pound tight end in front. Donovan Smith, 6'5", 235. The key block right there from the big tight end. Just uses enough force and then the power in Smith. Said we'd see him in short yardage goal line. Got stuffed down there a week ago. Did not get stuffed this afternoon.
Well, we've seen it in the NFL with Clayton Tune, the former Houston Cougar, doing it for Arizona in the NFL. So they bring in Donovan Smith for their own quarterback package here. But Malik Carr, you mentioned, a former basketball player, big dude, but Manjack wants his score, and it was really, really close. That's tough.
Yep.
But they're in.
And this is an area situationally, you're talking about the worst team in the country. 16 trips into the red zone, only 4 touchdowns, Jason, and stuff down there twice last week. So to adapt a little bit, to say, okay, if it didn't work, again, Willie Fritz seen and coached so much ball. How do we get our guys that can't do some things that others can't? Let's get Big Donovan in there at 6'5", 235 and use his strength and his force right there with number 6, Malik Carr. Push that pile and score just the 5th red zone touchdown in 9 now games.
134th in the country in red zone touchdown percentage. But what Chris Kleiman said to Allison, and I know we had a lot to go over, so we didn't really marinate on it, but next time Houston has the ball, let's see how much play action. Let's see for the next 3 quarters how much those eyes are downfield for Zeon Chriss, because the coach in Kansas State Purple is watching it. That's on the ground for Edwards. He does pick it up and then gets submerged short of the 15-yard line. Special teams early on. Houston's favor right now. Blackout games historically for the Cougars. This is against Lamar Jackson and Louisville all the way back in 2016 in the American Conference, 36-10. Remember that game? That was just
I think they sacked him 8 times.
Yes, and it changed the fortunes of Louisville that year. Marcus Jones in 2021. Here the Manjack tip to Stephon Johnson. Hail Mary touchdown. One of the most memorable moments for this program. Although Hail Marys are in vogue now. They had the one for college football last year. Now Kansas State with rough field position from the 15 officially. And that ball is tipped and incomplete. Keith Cooper, one of the transfers from Tulane with Willie Fritz.
Yeah, you can ask Rocco Becht what a pain this guy was for him in that Iowa State game. About 3 different times he got right into the face of the quarterback and really impacted the throwing lanes, made it hard. And Cooper's an NFL guy, 6'5", 280, one of 2 that came over from Tulane on this defense as a starter. Webb, the safety, the other. He tasted victory. He beat K-State 2 weeks ago, 2 years ago, in a big knockdown there.
Second down, Giddens the tailback, and he is ridden backward. McLaurin was in there first. And you said it, salty is the word for this Houston defense the last 2 touches for K-State.
Yeah, a little bit like Indiana, to be honest with you. Indiana brought in a lot of productive players, as you see, unfortunately, Allen coming off the field with what looks like a hand injury. But a lot of size, a lot of strength, a lot of experience. And as the year has gone on, they're now playing collectively, defensively, so much better.
Third and 10. K-State has to get to the 25. Johnson. And he just plucked it right off of Giddens, who didn't see it. He just doinked him with it.
Yeah, he's playing a little faster, is the QB, than Giddens, who's coming out for the check down. No reason to really rush that one. Just a 3-man rush. Once again, he had Keegan Johnson at the sticks open. But right now, the clock's a little sped up on Avery Johnson.
Houston will get it back. You see the winds effect. Mekhi Mews hopping into a return. Houston will have it off the 48-yard punt when we come back.
Go get more with Geico. There was more to be had here on that 3rd down, Jason. This is now twice where the young quarterback's eyes just kind of escape him. Okay, little switch release here, and look, he quickly gets to the check down, but you're going to see Keegan Johnson, number 10, right there, right at the sticks. He's running right to the sticks into the zone. Eyes in the wrong place, too quick to the check down.
See what the adjustment looks like next time they have the ball. This run is met with force. Sanford's run will get him nothing. 2nd down coming up.
I can promise you these running backs like Sanford, the freshman Burnett, Zeon Chriss, still a young quarterback. Look at the play pre-snap, Jason. And I love this shot right here with Skycam. And they look at it and go, gosh, there's space to go. There's space to run. Look at all these bubbles. There's only 3 down linemen. Right, look at, and there's 2 safeties, and then all of a sudden at the snap, that play changes so dramatically as bodies fly to the football.
Low snap, 2nd down throw. He does put it over the top for Sanford to set up 3rd down, and we'll see what Joe Klanderman does here. He does tend to blitz quite a bit, as Lance Leipold said this week.
Yeah, and he likes to be aggressive on this down and distance, and he really trusts the speed he has at the 2nd and 3rd level. But this is going to be a little feeling out game for Klanderman and Kleiman. This goes back to those years of playing against Willie Fritz at Sam Houston State and those battles they've had together. They know the guy on the other side is going to call and play the game to the way and to the actions on the field. Not just to their script. They're going to adjust to play the game to win. And as I said, Willie Fritz has done a lot of it.
Loaded box here. They'll back off. Still rush 5. Another throw over the top. He dropped it in for Williams. Devin Williams to the ground to gain at 32.
Well, a nice job by this offensive line of giving the quarterback. Look at the air between him and the line of scrimmage. Plenty of time to throw that deep ball to cut the wind. And this team is not one that throws it down the field very much. I mean, 20-plus yard passes, one of the fewest in college football, but I think you see some confidence from Neon Zeon, and touchdown passes will do that for you.
Fewer than 20 all season coming in, deep balls of 20-plus, 19 on the way into this game. Burnett on the run, and he is absolutely smothered by Jordan Riley, the senior out of the state of Maryland.
Yeah, we see with Iowa State, Bo Freeler, one of the leading tacklers in the country, plays the same spot that Jordan Riley does. And that is coming out of center field, that extra safety on the field. The guys up front, like Romaine, clean it up. And then Riley, number 6, so often the unblocked defender. And they fly to the football, man. They do not decelerate at the point of contact.
Second line of wide receivers in. Jonah Wilson, the freshman from here in Houston, has checked in. That's Mews on the orbit motion this time. Chris throws away from that. There is the freshman Wilson, and he is inside the 10.
I think Zeon had 6 completions the entire game last week.
Yep.
This time, just a little hitch route. I mean, we're seeing stuff you didn't see a week ago. And Klanderman talked to us about that. I don't really know what the identity is. They seem to really want to run it. Chris really likes to use his legs. 17 rushes a week ago. But a change-up today as Kevin Barbe, the coordinator, really trusting Chris to throw it, to push it down the field. To a whole bunch of success so far.
See if there's pressure from the far side coming here. There is, and Chris is hit. He breaks the tackle and then finally goes down. VJ Payne was there first, but Austin Moore cleans it up.
Yeah, you're going to see Payne. He is a pain to quarterbacks because he plays that safety spot, but then he does this a ton. In fact, the final 7 snaps a week ago against the Jayhawks, he blitzed 4 times.
Yeah.
And on the final play, well, he too did it at 21 miles an hour, which is flying. He disrupts the play, and as he said, Moore cleans it up.
It's almost too fast for a school zone by a person. 2nd and goal. Sanford on the flip. Man-jack for Chris, and he's down to the 6. Okay, so there's stuff we haven't seen, and then there's that from Houston, which has really struggled in this area.
Again, 25% was 4 of 16. 1 for 1 on the first drive. Now in a favorable position yet again here. And if you're struggling in that manner, then don't, what do they say about insanity? Trying to do the same thing over and over again with the same result. If it's not working, we've got to change it up, and they have certainly mixed it up this afternoon.
All the receivers are looking at their play cards down by their waist as the play comes in. 3rd down and goal for Chris. Clean pocket. He'll climb that pocket, try to burrow through it, and Chris turning his back. Now a decision for Willie Fritz that's probably a field goal, but could you argue for going for this here?
That's got to be a field goal.
Sure?
Yes. You pay off this drive.
Okay.
You go up a touchdown. You've watched your defense play really good the last 2 drives, and watching a young quarterback on the other side and some elements and some wind. No, you go up by 7 here.
I get it. 22 yards from Martin, who had the game winner at the Horn against Utah last week. Out of the hold of Jake Sock. Field goal is good for Martin. 10-3 Houston. Upset alert. I think we have time. Just produce it on the fly. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about me. Martin's kick into the end zone. Edwards on the return. Wet track. He gets outside, and Edwards all the way to the 30-yard line. Allison, your turn.
Thank you, JB. We did see Will Howard lead his Buckeyes to a win against Penn State earlier, and it was a year ago. He was the starter for Kansas State as Avery Johnson started to get more playing time. And Johnson says credit to Will Howard because he never treated me differently. When we started to split time, he always was willing to help me out. The two remain really close and have a strong relationship. He said, I didn't realize it at the time, but I needed to wait my turn. I needed to have some patience so that I could be ready when my opportunity arose. And Will Howard helped him to be ready for those opportunities. He said, I just really appreciate the way he handled that situation and really was like a mentor to him.
It's very cool to see in an era where everybody talks about me first, to have that relationship still exist.
Yeah, especially at that position. I think a little easier for Will because he just knew how talented Avery was, especially as a runner. Now, as a thrower, and we've seen in this first quarter, there is still a work in progress. Right? Chris Klieman saying, hey, balance for us is being able to throw it on any down and distance. Got to keep growing and improving in that way. But this kid, well, he can certainly run.
2nd and 6 in front of him off the 4-yard gain from Giddens, who's top 10 in rushing in the FBS. This is tipped at the line again. Hershey McLaurin has been outstanding in the first half.
Yeah, he's just got his eyes all over it. And when you're as versatile as he is, look at his eyes into the backfield. He's going to be just the 4th rusher with an outside nickel coming. But then he times it up perfectly, much like Keith Cooper did. I mean, these are veteran guys. He's a senior that's played a whole bunch of football.
We welcome those of you who were watching Arizona State and Oklahoma State. 10-3 Houston. Upset watch is on here in Texas. Kansas State led 3-0. Now Avery Johnson bailing from the pocket. Cooper's after him. Throw downfield, knocked away by Halsey. The ball hawk in this secondary. There is a marker that's come in. Let's see what it is.
Yeah, the only call here is, did he grab Giddens on the scramble play? And you can tell by his body language right there. He's looking at it. And the officials are doing a good job talking about it because this is a big play and big call.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense, 10-yard penalty, down.
That's exactly what it was. And you see Batten trying to fire the defense back up and say, hey, let's get off the field anyway.
Yeah, and it was just before that point that he grabbed him. I don't know if it's there. If it's there, it would have been PI. I think it had to be called, and where the flag was a little bit earlier when he turned upfield on the scramble play. And to be honest with you, I think Halsey's body language told you he knew it.
Yeah. So first down, Kansas State, and a much-needed one. Johnson has the tight end, Ancio, who had the big touchdown last week against Kansas. You said it, but for the viewers that just joined us, Kansas State has more touchdowns from tight ends than anybody in the country, 10 of them this year.
They do an awesome job of devising play action in the RPO game, especially in the red zone, where it looks like the exact same play on those linebackers and safeties. And then all four of those tight ends peel off of those blocks and are able targets.
Second and 7. Giddens patient, trying to drag tacklers, somehow has enough momentum, even though Carlos Allen had him by the waist, to get to around midfield.
Yeah, I think you can see, Jason, you're just not blowing Houston off the ball.
Right.
This is not what the Wildcats did to Colorado in their big win. I mean, there's Carlos Allen at 300 pounds, and he can anchor the transfer from Kennesaw State. 295, 295 active linebackers. This is not an easy front to run against. Just 2.8 yards a rush here through the first quarter and a half.
For the season, they've been averaging nearly 7 yards per play overall. Third down for Johnson. Loads of time. Now the clock speeds up. He rolls, he sets and throws, and he's got it on the sideline to Jace Brown for a Kansas State first down.
Well, this is why you practice. This was one of the focal points for Matt Wells with his young quarterback, is getting your eyes to the boundary. When we asked Avery this week, what are some fundamental things you're working on over the course of the season? It was that. When I escape the pocket, to have my eyes up, not just to the middle, but from sideline to sideline, a big, again, third down conversion.
And while that ended up at the sideline, he had to see the receiver in the middle of the field get there. So first down for Kansas State. 3 to snap it. Edwards. And he gets through to the second level somehow, some way. It's a gain of 12. Allison.
Guys, Matt Wells, passing game coordinator, was kind of firing on his wide receivers for their lack of physicality as well. He said, I don't mind a little conflict. Play ball the Kansas State way. You've had bad routes, missed blocks. We need more physicality and fighting for separation.
They know what that is. There's a lot of, as you say, time on task with this organization for Kansas State.
And you know what? They're developmental. So you lose 4 starters on your O-line, right? Doesn't matter. I'm going to bring guys that have been waiting their turn. Now, Matt Wells, first year in this program, former Texas Tech head coach. He's in concert with Connor Riley, the offensive coordinator and O-line coach upstairs. But this is development, man. But you know exactly the style and the culture with which you're playing.
Second and 7. Edwards again hits the crease and gets taken down across the 25-yard line. That's Xavier Tibbs, the sophomore junior college transfer. Third down coming up for Kansas State. This is where those tight ends can be a real factor, third and short.
Yeah, and I think this also where some of this wind may play a little bit of a role as well, with Chris Kleiman over there managing the game against his opponent. Is this 2-4 down territory?
Third and 5. It's Brown in motion. Giddens, the tailback, is met and dropped by Jamal Morris. It's a gain of 2.
Look at that. These two look like rams, you know, when they got the horns and they just run right into each other. Watch this collision and watch the snapback in the helmet of both of them. Boom! Like a locking horns right there. And that call told me you had 2 downs to get 5 yards. And
Absolutely, right?
Yeah, and Jamal Morris says, bring it.
Kansas State 9 of 14 on third down for the year coming in. Johnson flat-footed. He does have the first down for the tight end, Garrett Oakley, inside the red zone.
Well, this has been Houston's plan now. That's about the third or fourth time we've seen them drop 8 and really challenge Avery Johnson to have patience. Look at the protection. Only 3 Cougars are rushing. And as you said, flat-footed in the pocket.
They will blow it dead. The marker is down.
False start. Offense number 71. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Left tackle Kilty.
One of the things that I love doing is listening to John Smoltz. World Series just ended. And yeah, the transfer from North Dakota didn't like that false start. But Smoltz does such a great job of getting into the heads of the pitcher and the hitter. It's the same thing with Chris Kleiman and Willie Fritz. And these play callers, right? And okay, how are they going to call it? How do I call this possession? I'm at a 3rd and 5 with someone. Let me make sure I let the guys know it's 4-down territory to manage the game like you manage really the pitch selection.
Fake the pitch there for Edwards. He'll now dump it down on a check down, and Edwards hops out of bounds. So what does Chris Kleiman think that Willie Fritz is thinking about the remainder of this first half?
Yeah, both of these very experienced coaches know this is going to be a 4-quarter game. There's going to be no gimmies. The way that Willie Fritz's crew is calling it, rushing 3, dropping 8, keeping all the explosive play reel off of the field. Like, we're going to have to earn this thing through execution over 60 minutes.
Fast-moving first half so far. Edwards again on the accelerator this time, and he is turned aside. Not a whole lot of missed tackles in this game so far for Houston. The Cougars have been very sound defensively, not unexpectedly. You make the baseball reference, they have Timmy Trumpet playing. So Edwin Diaz will come out of the bullpen when we come back. 10-3 Houston at the 2-minute timeout. The kicker who has kicked here before. For now, a 3rd down to deal with for Kansas State.
Keep an eye on those tight ends. 3 receivers on the field doesn't mean you still can't find the big-bodied receiver at playing tight end. And it's hard with K-State because they got 4 of them, and they all kind of look similar. They're all about 6'5". That time Oakley was on the field, but all been difference makers for Avery in the red zone.
It's timeout Houston. Don't forget, coming up at halftime, our State Farm halftime show, Ohio's statement. You see what that is? It's one of those before and after puzzles. Georgia struggling a little bit with Florida at halftime, and then I don't know who's going to beat Dan Lanning's Oregon crew.
Yeah, we have seen them on the road up in Michigan. Just so many dynamic players. And they can run it and they can throw it. And Gabriel has just been the maestro, kind of like Bo Nix was for him a season ago.
A different look, lefty quarterback versus a righty, maybe some more deep shots. Tez Johnson has really come into his own, but that's a scary team right now. Defensive struggles so far. (10-3) Houston. Avery Johnson throws it this side. He's got it to Jackson, and he has a 1st and goal for Kansas State.
Well, this is a really nice job, just conceptually, just kind of run off of each other, right? You just come up there timing-wise, you set it up perfectly, you create space, no offensive PI, no contact whatsoever by Keegan Johnson, but he sets his buddy up for success. And Jaden Jackson with the reception and the toe dancing to move the sticks.
Now 2 tight ends are in, Ancio and Swanson. Giddens picks his way and gets in. Touchdown. He's a magician.
Yeah, he feels it, and just watch these guys play some maul ball. They're just mauling just at the point of attack right here, doing what I can to wash it down. The big left guard, Panzer, pulls around, and then just the feel. There's just running backs and the good ones that know right where they are, right where they need to be, finding the tying touchdown.
It's another 14-play drive for Kansas State. Tough hold, and it is blocked. It's blocked by McCutcheon. And so eventually, when this hits the ground, as Tennant gets ripped to the turf, Houston keeps the lead. McClannon just couldn't find the ears on it on the snap from Mason Olguin. 10-9, Kansas State gets in with Giddens, but then the extra point gets blocked, and so suddenly it's a 1-point game. 14-play drive. Kansas State has run 15 more plays than Houston. Time now for our Pacific Life game summary, sponsored by Pacific Life, creating financial security for nearly 160 years. We've had enough rain, but we figured we'd have to splash anyway. Zeon Chriss perfect so far.
Yeah, that just 6 completions the entire game against Utah a week ago, and I don't think Kansas State expected them to open it up and push the ball down the field. We saw the little special as well with Manjack throwing it, nearly catching a touchdown, and just you're earning both sides having to earn every yard. Certainly K-State is on the ground.
3 timeouts for Kansas State. Chriss will run this, and he'll pick up 3.5. So do you call timeouts if you're Chris Klieman here?
Again, this is a little bit of that just chess match back and forth, right, of just managing this game. If you're Houston, this is absolutely the right thing you do. Get this thing to halftime with the lead, and you get the ball to begin the second half. I think maybe depending on this play right here, if you can stop them and put them in a 3rd and long situation, I think you do call timeout if you're K-State.
Chriss will wait. Use the motion man. He did run it all the way down. It's Butler, the tailback, and he skates to the outside, and then some. DJ Butler. Now Houston has 2 timeouts, and they can play with it.
And look at Mekhi Muse, the little guy, the receiver, come in motion right here, and he's going to be the lead block. You talked about on the other side, those K-State receivers being physical to point of attack. He does just enough on Siegel. A little bit of burst out of the true freshman running back.
Moving under 50 seconds. Chriss still perfect. There's Butler one more time. Justin Moore, they hit.
Yeah, 41 is everywhere. He has seen so much ball through the years. 6'1", 220 pounds, former walk-on. Have you heard that story before out of Manhattan? Yeah. Self-built, self-made.
Great reader of plays, right?
And just a guy that sets everybody else up and is able to do it, not by the size, but by the mind. Look at him pointing out the play.
Second down, pressure coming, weak side, a big hit. Ball is out. Let's see. There's a fight for it, and it is Kansas State football. Purnell got down there. The hit from Toby Osunsami.
Wow. That is now the 2nd time Chriss got away with it down in the red zone. Remember, the free blitzer came and Payne missed him. There's going to be no missing off the edge right here. Chriss thinks he is protected. He's got the numbers for it, but there is that elite speed and burst from Osunsami, and then the rest of the crew and Purnell, Johnny on the spot. Wow. That's stealing a possession right there. We talked about that in the open. Can you steal? Which side can Houston steal a possession? That is a big one here with 38 to play.
So now Kansas State, all 3 timeouts. Short field, 48 yards to go, or at least field goal range for Tennant. Avery Johnson on the roll. He will throw, and he's got it for Johnson. Keegan Johnson just outside the 20.
And once again, just putting practice into play. Those eyes down the field Avery can run it. He could have easily scrambled to run right there, but he had a little more experience. Slowed the clock down. His buddy Johnson works with him. And now in prime position with all 3 timeouts. Everything in the playbook still open to you.
See what they choose out of it. 5 wide receivers, including a tight end down there. This is too high. Incomplete.
Yeah, sometimes, Jason, dual threat, really talented, speedy quarterbacks want to just get on the run, right? I think we've seen here, certainly over the last few weeks, really all season long, lots of maturity, a lot of poise, and he is looking to spray it all over the field and not just rely on the ace he has in the deck, which is that elite speed.
I've seen him run it a couple of times so far, as you said. Pressure coming here. He gets away from one. He turns his eyes upfield and now will race it out of bounds. Under 20 seconds to go. They'll preserve the 3 timeouts. Anthony Holmes was in there first. What do you like on 3rd down again?
I think you've got to be very careful with the football here. Right? Make sure you've got a kicker that kicked a game winner for you. I know you botched the snap on the PAT. But if you're Avery here, there's no reason to force that ball if it's not there. And in fact, if it's not, I'd like to see him use that elite burst.
On 3rd and 9. Nice pickup by Giddens. Johnson gets outside and put it right on the hands of Oakley. That was a flat-out dart, and they'll use one of the timeouts. Man.
That thing, I think I heard that thing sizzling. We're close here with this press box, the closest we've been all season. And once again, just extending the play, 14-yard just dart, which you call perfectly, knows where the pressure's coming from. And that is an advantage, Jason, when you're a right-handed QB running to your left. If you get those hips turned, you can throw that BB just like that between the 8 and the 6 of Oakley.
But that's why they talk about his technique once he's out of the pocket, right? That's the type of play while you work on that during the week.
Yep. And so many of these young quarterbacks do. They got trainers. He started with his in 5th or 6th grade out there in Wichita. Same guy that he's been working with. And, you know, back in the day, 30 years ago, and even climbing, I was holding the ball in pregame, and he's like, sure wish I was playing a statue like you, you know? Like,
thanks, Chris.
Yeah. But back in our day, it was like, yeah, 3-step, 5-step, 7-step. Like if you threw 100 passes, like 99 of them were in rhythm. The QBs today, these young dual threat guys, they practice that constantly outside the pocket, the movement, because they know improvising and throwing on the run is such a key to the game today.
Timeout Houston. So they'll have 1 remaining. We'll see what Houston dials up defensively. First, tomorrow, huge NFL doubleheader on Fox. First, Dak and the Cowboys take on the Falcons or other regional action. Then, America's Game of the Week, Jared Goff and the Lions are getting hot. They take on Jordan Love and the Packers or the Rams, the Seahawks. Check your local listings for the games in your area. That's on tomorrow on Fox.
Speaking of a guy that can, well, almost every quarterback on that promo can throw from different arm slots and different movement, but Jordan Love, obviously some background here with Matt Wells at Utah State together. Matthew Stafford, still one of the most elite arms in the game. And for D coordinators like Sheil Wood, it's like, oh man, devise a great scheme. I get pressure on these guys. But that escapability and creativity never been better at the position.
13 seconds left. It's a 1st and goal for Kansas State. A lot of options here with 2 timeouts. Out of the empty set. This way. Oh, come back and turn of the shoulders by Keegan Johnson for the touchdown.
So what happens when you've got more tight ends that have got more touchdowns in the red zone than anybody in America? Well, logistically, you put enough bodies to stop them, and you leave this, a one-on-one. And just a throwback, back shoulder, little fade here, a one-on-one situation. My guy's better than your guy. And put it right there in a spot there on that back hip. Well done for Keegan with his first touchdown reception of the season.
They're going to kick the extra point here and not chase the 2.
So you line up those two tight ends, right? You put 4 guys to the field. Look at all this, right? And look at all the bodies it displaces. So it makes it such an easy, clear picture for the quarterback. And, you know, even if a free rusher is coming at me, I've got a one-on-one over there where my guy is going to get it, and no chance for McCutcheon to make a play on the ball.
What an adjustment by Keegan Johnson.
Once again, a route that's really come to life the last, Drew Brees maybe was the leader of that throwback, back shoulder, back hip. Michael Thomas and crew, and man, for the last 20 years, you've seen that route come to life as well.
I don't know if you want to say Drew Brees all that loudly in front of Kansas State fans after that Alamo Bowl a bunch of years ago.
They have respect.
No, I understand. It's been a while. It's been 20 plus years.
Yes.
See the scoring drives for Kansas State. They bogged down a little bit otherwise, but some stress on the Houston defense. It was a 29-second touch of the football for Kansas State to get into the end zone. And this is a touchback. We are all asking people who cover the league and play in the league and all that, who wants to win the Big 12? Kansas State was slotted 2 preseason, total upheaval in the league.
Yeah, they're the only one out of the top 5 that have a chance to win this Big 12. And you look at it, Jason, BYU culture, Iowa State culture, Kansas State culture, Deion in just a couple years there, Colorado. Different, unique, with all sorts of new pieces and players, but done a wonderful job of building a culture there. And that was a lot of poise in the final couple minutes here from Kansas State. No flinch, no panicking, and for Houston to get the ball to begin the second half, and Willie Fritz disappointed, knowing they gave away a possession there, and K-State took advantage.
Well, she's standing in the middle of a blow dryer right now. Kickoff to Muse. It's a touchback. And we will check in with Allison Williams. Hi,
in
Allison.
the wind and the rain, as you guys said, it's definitely starting to come down here to start the second half. I talked to Kansas State's Chris Kleiman. He called his tackling in that first half ridiculous. He said we absolutely have to be better defensively tackling. Offensively, he said it all starts with identifying the pressure correctly. When we've done that, we've been able to run the ball, make some completions. When we haven't is when we struggled. And I asked who that's on. He said everybody. It's getting the correct call from upstairs, and it's also our offensive line on picking it up.
Have you ever had a coach tell you his tackling was ridiculous, Allison?
I think that may be a first. This weather's a little ridiculous, too.
Houston's first play out of halftime. Zion Chris straight up the pocket. He puts his foot into the ground and picks up 4 yards. So you mentioned it last week. 6 for 13. Not bad. Got a win. 7 for 7. You'll take it.
Yeah, and last week it was 17 runs. Right, I know sacks count and yada, yada. No, that was runs, 17 of those. And today, far less. The arm has been more efficient. I think this second half, his legs have to come to life.
If you exclude the sacks, it's 6 runs in the first half. 9 officially. Sacks count as runs here in college football. Here's another one. Chris behind Burnett, and Austin Moore takes care of that and screams his way to a tackle.
Yeah, if you're pulling around on Kansas State, you better identify this guy. And you're going to see 66 Dunn come around, and he doesn't have his eyes up. And Moore's got his eyes on nothing but the tackle and running right through it. He was not one of the ridiculous tacklers in that first half. He was all over it and sets up a 3rd and 7.
Another Kansas native. He is a 6th-year Kansas State Wildcat. Purnell showing pressure. He's picked up. They didn't get Jordan Riley, though. It's a sack for Kansas State.
Oh, and this is so good. Look at Jordan Riley. Just watch him. This entire play, watch him hunt this down. He's going to be covering the back, and once the back blocks, he then just goes and hunts. These defenders, especially at that 3rd down, man, they are hunting for prey. And once they see it and feel it, they attack it.
He's a high school wrestler, right? He's not the only one on this roster either. Transfer from Ball State. That's the 4th sack already. As this hits a Kansas State Wildcat, it's down on the ground. Edwards had to pick it up. That was Ty Bowman who got hit with that punt, and Edwards smartly falls on it. We're kind of hanging on to the rails, trying to hang on in this game at 16-10. Cougars' opening drive of the second half went for naught. Kansas State was quiet the first 3 possessions in terms of the end zone. Then they found their way.
Yeah, you can see the difference. If you just get that first down, you hear that all the time from coordinators. It just starts the engine.
Both running backs are in. This is Edwards running behind Giddens with a big block from Giddens with a shoulder in. It's a gain of 11.
Yeah, nice job here. It's not just those 5 linemen that are blocking. If you're going to play at Kansas State, you're going to block a receiver, you're going to block a running back. You mentioned it, 31 coming through the hole as well, and right through the body of McCutcheon, the corner.
He looked like he enjoyed it, too. Some tailbacks block, but don't seem to enjoy it. He did.
Going to punish those that try to punish him.
Fake it to Giddens. Johnson to Giddens. That's where you want to take the check down, right? There were a couple misses.
Yes. Yeah, you give yourself time. You're looking down the field. Excellent coverage deep down the field. This is not a team that throws a lot of shots. We talked about that with Houston on the other side, but just 26 attempts over 20 yards. For Matt Wells and Connor Riley upstairs, they don't push the ball down the field, much more methodical in their operation.
Yeah, Riley is upstairs calling the plays. His first year as the play caller, taking over for Colin Klein.
And doing a heck of a job of it, too.
Johnson has the first down. Wells gets more face time because he's not behind a pane of glass, but there's a first down for Kansas State.
Yeah, and this is a pretty easy read right here. The edge defender is McCutcheon. The minute those shoulders turn, right, McCutcheon's got to do a little better job there of staying a little more square, making that a more difficult read for Johnson. Once those shoulders turn and he can get the edge, he's going to take it.
Two long drives in the first half, as you saw in the drive chart. Giddens strung out to the outside. He'll try and get upfield. He turns it into no gain. There's not much there. Cooper and Batten together on the tackle. Michael Batten, whose story is, I mean, wild. He took a year off outside of high school. He then shows up at community college where he's a quarterback after a year as a wide receiver at Houston Christian. And, you know, he told us, he was like, my life kind of fell apart. The year that I was out of high school, I was away from football. I fell out of love with the game and then found it again. And he has become an awesome player for this Houston team defensively. What a blitz pickup. Oakley on the receiving end of it, but this is just colossal contact.
Well, we saw him. Then we see Giddens go through the hole. And then there's running backs that likewise, Jason, like blitz pickup, and then there's some that love it. And you know what's great about that? He didn't stand over him.
Nope.
He didn't have to humiliate him. He did that through the contact itself.
You could learn something from them. From production meetings. 3rd and 1. Giddens at tailback. See if they feed him here. It's Johnson instead. He's going to try to get to the outside. And this is just an awful play for Kansas State because it affects their decision-making here as well. It's a loss of 5.
Well, and it was an awesome job by those edges. Now watch this. Look at the shoulders here on this zone read and the difference. When you stay square, you make it a whole lot harder on that decision-making process. And then you actually get yourself off the field with a negative play created. Well done there on a huge 3rd down from that defense.
Tenants Long is 51. That was the game winner against Kansas that tied his career high. This is from 53 and could really flip the field or give Kansas State a 2-score lead. Another bad snap and exchange, and McClanahan has to run for it. He lost his hat. McCutcheon absolutely changes this ball game. Twice now.
These are the details that the boys from Manhattan are usually on top of. But not this afternoon, not in this wind, not in this rain, and it gives Houston some life.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more. The snap hold situation, the connectivity has not been good for K-State. Here is Olguin, the long snapper, over on the sideline feeling it.
It's a lonely spot. You never get credit when you do it right, but everybody notices when you do it wrong.
Butler on the run. As we watch that, Brock, who was that on? Like,
Yeah,
what is the situation here?
Yeah, I mean, it's wet and it's windy, obviously. They still practice in wet and windy weather up in Kansas. But there's no question, once you have one, it can lead to another. And we saw a little bit of the misconnection on the PAT. You see it again. And does it look like maybe a new long snapper is trying to get some reps there?
Olguin's involved, but we'll see what it looks like if they try to kick it again. K-State does have the lead. It's Butler one more time, and he's not going to get much at all. It's third down and a long way to go, but Houston is double the Big 12 average in 3rd and 10 runs, so it's not a guaranteed pass here.
And you
Third
can
down.
see the numbers, and unfortunately for them, kind of like the red zone, once you see yourself in the 130s, there's not much lower than you. It has been a real struggle to get enough protection, to get enough consistency in the passing game. And at 3rd and 10, the blitz has been effective. But I think you play coverage here if you're Kansas State.
Do you feel comfortable enough to do it? And we're going to get a timeout. The official on the far side just ran into a K-State coach.
I think it was Kleiman.
It looked like it was Kleiman. I couldn't tell, but you got him.
Yeah, I think he was still
Wow.
upset about the snaps.
It's a timeout, Kansas State. Whew. I don't know how this is going to end, but it's not going to be normal. We ask you, what current FBS head coach has been head coach at the most NCAA schools? So not just FBS schools, but NCAA schools. 3rd down for Houston. You think about that. 3rd and 9 for the Cougars. Fake it, and now Chris leans forward. He's going to be a yard short. It'll be 4th down and 1, but there they go, running on 3rd and long.
Yep, and Kansas State just plays coverage, right? 4 down front for them, kind of their nickel coverage zone. And it sets Houston up to do what they did earlier, bring in Donovan Smith, the big quarterback. His QB run earlier for the touchdown, just a downhill run with a 6'5", 235-pound senior.
And with Burnett behind him, their big tailback at 6'1", 220 next to him. It's a run, it's straight ahead, and boy, that fake killed some time that Kansas State took advantage of. This will be Wildcat football.
Yeah, and look at Austin Romaine right in the middle of it. We showed him earlier missing a tackle, making a tackle. This was the biggest one of the game, and he went right for the legs. You're giving up size. Do not let him get started, and watch him just dig underneath the pile and get right to the thigh pad and knock him backwards. There is something about these former running backs, Jason, and Romaine was a 3,000-yard rusher himself out of high school. They understand timing, right? They kind of understand the rhythm of a run play because they were runners themselves, and a huge finish there to get the Wildcats off the field.
Such a great nose for the football as well. He had the forced fumble against Tulane. He forced the fumble against Kansas to help them to that win last week.
Do you think they talked to those guys about tackling at all at halftime?
He called it ridiculous. I bet it was the entirety of halftime. Here's Giddens picking his way to the 49. What's at stake here for Kansas State is an opportunity to stay in the Big 12 race. You have BYU and Iowa State at least starting today unbeaten. Iowa State struggling with Texas Tech as we're playing as well.
Well, Chris said on Monday to the press how fine the line is, the margin in college football today between winning and losing. And he knows it. He's had comebacks in the fourth quarter, 1-score wins. Just a couple plays have been so critical today. The sack fumble, the 4th down stop, the missed snaps. 2, 3, 4 plays have been monumental so far.
Johnson snaps it off down the middle. He was a little bit late for Oakley. And it's third down coming up. We'll see what happens with Iowa State against Texas Tech. BYU unbeaten because of their win against Kansas State. It turned into a blowout. It wasn't in the first half.
Yeah, it was a back and forth game, and then it was turnover, and that was about it. Big play here. Houston's defense been on the field a lot today. Played a lot more snaps than K-State.
17 more snaps. 48-31, the play totals. Brown closest to the formation at the bottom side. Johnson bails. He's going to roll and give a ton of ground, even more ground than anybody in purple wants him to. Then he turns it upfield. It's a catch for Giddens. He breaks a tackle, and it's finally over. That started to look like the BYU punt return that broke that game open a couple of weeks ago.
I think like 40 yards of real estate covered for a negative 4-yard play.
I mean,
I think when it was all said and done, you start going backwards, and I promise you, your heart rate escalates exponentially as you're looking at A, to get out of the mess, B, find someone to throw it to, but a huge sudden change, kind of 3 and out there defensively.
Low snap that time on the punt. McClannon catches this one. Muse, a very returnable kick, and he's across the 25. Boy, if this turns into a special teams game with kicks, Brock, we'll see what they feel like they can do. Guys right now down there with the Gamecocks, Salem University, Glenville State, West Virginia, Michigan, Arizona. Wow. But Willie Fritz has been around. That's part of the reason the question popped into our minds with Sam Houston, with Tulane, a couple of other stops as well down here in Texas. Zion Chris goes over the middle, and a nice catch by Mekhi Muse to the 40-yard line.
That is not an easy catch in these windy, wet conditions. A beautiful job here. One of the advantages when you're 5'8" and 85 pounds, great body control. Able to flip those hips and go get it.
Call that an uprising from Muse there. It is first down for Houston. Chris will run. He is hit. He'll get a couple of yards. But on the subject of Willie Fritz, he does have an interesting tie to Kansas State. When he was at Blinn Junior College, he had Michael Bishop there, the great Kansas State quarterback. But he's actually known Michael Bishop since 2nd grade. Willie Fritz was at Willis High School in Texas. Michael Bishop was a 2nd grader. He shows up at Blinn, and he still calls him Mr. Fritz because he knew him as a gym teacher.
Yeah, and then born in Kansas, right outside of Kansas City. So a whole bunch of ties, and oh, by the way, it's tangled with the guy on the other side at a couple different schools as well.
Marvelous things to say about Bill Snyder and the way he helped build that Kansas State program. Pressure coming. Chris gets out of it. Somehow weaves his way for a first down. Moore the tackle, but man, oh man, what a shifty move. He got by Obi Izor first.
Well, you can see on that gain of 9 how he just picks up speed. 6'3", 210. He is really well put together, and once he breaks that tackle, he just outruns Moore to move those chains right back now in midfield where the last drive stalled.
Zion Chris grew up as a running back and a wide receiver, but they kept running pass plays through him, and they were like, you know what, maybe we should make him into a quarterback. Muse is knocked down. Jacob Parrish is feeling it.
Yeah, you just have to be so aware when you're playing this team because of the eyes that all of these defenders have. You know, in his mind, and you could see him as he once again defeats the block of the running back there, Sanford. He's like, yeah, please, Jacob Parrish, just please throw this. Please throw this, because I am seeing it like a fastball right down the middle.
Out of Olathe North High School. 8 tackles for loss already for Kansas State. We're in the 3rd quarter. Now Butler on the run, 2nd and 16, and that'll set up a really difficult 3rd down for Houston.
Yeah, you can see it with Houston. I think the way that Willie Fritz wants to play this game, just stay on schedule. If we could just find a way to get 2 or 3, and look at the deep breath from Chris there. He knows, like, against these guys, they're suffocating on the other side. They're a top 10 rush defense in the country. And then when we get behind the chains and you're sitting at 3rd and 13 with all their blitzes and all their speed, it's miserable.
And he's 9 for 9, and they have 10 points. Substitution for Kansas State. And there's time to do it. That's a reasonable amount of time, and that will lead to a delay of game for Houston. Or did they give them the timeout first? Let's see. They will allow the timeout, although the whistle came after the 0 on our timer.
Prior to the delay of game, timeout, Houston, their first of the half. 30-second timeout.
That is the way it goes in college football. You substitute late,
you're in trouble.
Yeah, you set yourself up for that situation. This Friday on Fox, one of college football's breakout stars, the running back Caleb Johnson, leads Iowa into the Rose Bowl for a showdown against UCLA, which is making life difficult on Nebraska today. It kicks off Friday, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on Fox. You're the running back, Brock?
More than the quarterback this year, which could make the Heisman thing kind of fun discussion. Genty's, you can't tackle him, and he's playing with one arm and still runs for $150 last night. We saw Caleb Johnson in person, a man amongst boys. We saw him, Omarion Hampton in the opener. And even without a great supporting cast around him, just elevates. I think that's the difference. These guys are the engine that elevates everybody else. And that doesn't happen with that kind of volume very often.
The time used. We've seen in the backfield, we've seen Zion Chris run a lot of different running back looks for Houston today. There's a screen, that's Muse. He gives some ground, and he drags a tackler, Osen Sami, for a while, and will be no gain officially.
Yeah, screens are just so hard because Joe Klanderman at the Kansas State side works on it so often. Teams try to run it against this 3 down and the aggressiveness, but they beat the O-line to the perimeter. The guys retrace at the line of scrimmage, and it is very hard to screen the Wildcats.
Retrace meaning what for those watching at home?
They're rushing and they get back into their steps to track the football.
Edwards, fair catches at the 16. So Kansas State's defense, the sack number is the big one so far today. They've got 4 of them.
Yeah, just creating the negative plays, doing it with perseverance, doing it with, well, a bunch of guys getting to the football if the first doesn't get home. And then when the first does get home, the biggest play of this game, no question about it, was Osen Sami there with the sack fumble before half. Nearly another one there. Look at Riley, just a pack of dogs just biting at that football, wanting to rip it away. As this rain now is really coming down, Jason.
Hope Allison's doing okay down there. That's who I think about first, Brock.
Hope she didn't float away.
She's on a raft. First down coming up.
She's tough.
Johnson gets hit backside as he throws. He got it off Chase Brown. Down the sideline, Brown. What a tough effort from Avery Johnson with Mack bearing down on him.
Wind, rain, I don't care. Like Captain Dan staring it all down. What? And then throwing the most beautiful pass we have seen all afternoon long. Yeah, there's times he targets Brown a little too much. His eyes are on him too often, but not that time. A one-on-one that he leaves lots of room to the sideline, and you can't put that ball in a better spot. You call this a storm, Avery Johnson says.
I got this. Did not look all that different from what he and Brown did to end that Colorado game. Off the block on the outside from Keegan Johnson. We do have a flag down at the 27.
Yeah, that block was in the back. And that is why this is going to be a significant penalty on Johnny Carter, the DB, the corner. He gets inside. Johnson just pushes him right in the back.
Illegal block in the back. Offense number 10. 10-yard penalty enforced from the previous spot. First down.
Yeah, nice job here by Carter of just not stopping on the play right at the bottom of the screen and the obvious push. The one hand in the low back.
I'm with you. It's a penalty. Took a little convincing. First down and 20. Giddens on the run, and look, this is one of those drives where you'd say, you know what, even if you just get some yards, get yourself a field goal. You're up 9, but that level of casual about a field goal is not possible right now.
And that's why that penalty was so big, to take you totally off schedule. And I think as a play caller upstairs, Connor Riley and Chris Kleiman downstairs, I think they're thinking just that. We cannot just be comfortable and settle for a field goal.
2 tight ends, 2nd and 16. to throw. He wipes his hand as he reaches for the ball, and Johnson with loads of time. Now the pocket gets held up a little bit. He'll throw it this way, and it's incomplete for Ancio. Third down. Ton of time, nothing there.
Well, we saw this in the first quarter. A lot of drop 8, 1 alligator, 2 alligator, 3 alligator. There's zone coverage. I'm at 6 alligator, 7, 8, 9. He holds the ball forever. There's nowhere to go. There's only 4 guys released into the route. There's 8 defenders back there. Willie Fritz is saying, hey, keep rushing this guy, keep finishing. He knows how important this is. He knows how big this 3rd and 16 is as well.
They have to get to the 13. It's a high screen, and it's incomplete. If Morris looked up, he might have had a chance to pick that, but 2 balls high for a tight end, and now what? Now what?
Well, now you got to kick a field goal.
Can you?
And now it's time for Mason Olguin, the old 3-time state powerlifting champ, to get out of his head, to put a good snap right into the hands of McClellan, so Tennant can do what he does best.
McClellan's hands weren't feeling good after the earlier hit, so they're going to go ahead and change snappers here. Olguin is out. That's a high snap, and this one is good.
For a team that coming into this was last in the Big 12. And it's just a 28% conversion rate on 3rd downs and those downs and distance against this defense in this weather. Untenable.
That brings us now to Above and Beyond. It's sponsored by Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above. And when this Kansas State defense is on, they will really lean on you as well.
Yeah, they make it difficult because you've got to earn everything. And then, yeah, if they just see some blood in the water, they're like a bunch of sharks, man, and they go after it. You can see the tackles for loss, the sacks. 157 total pressures this season, 7th in all of college football. It's in their DNA.
They've allowed only 7 first downs. It's like 2 first downs a quarter to this point. Chris on the hand for Sanford. He got by 1. He's tripped up by Parrish. 2nd down for Houston. There's still enough time that Houston can run the ball. It doesn't have to be one-dimensional.
No, you have to. And I think off of that run comes a little bit of the play action. I wouldn't mind seeing Zeon Chris as well, just outside the pocket, some designed play action or sprint out and get him away from some of that chaos that he has been facing in the pocket.
We also haven't seen Manjack with a catch since that opening catch that got him into the end zone. He thought. He's in the game at the bottom of the screen. He's the man in motion. Run it again. Sanford is drilled. Romaine got the first hands on him, and then everybody else came with. Travis Bates closed it.
Well, you just do. Kansas State does such a nice job of just creating chaos at the point of attack. Those D linemen never sit in the same spot, right? D tackle slant and they move. The linebackers stunt both in the A gap. So what appears pre-snap is one look. Romaine and crew change entirely post-snap.
So what do you have to do as a quarterback?
Again, I would like to get out of that mess. I would like to sprint out. I would like to play pass. But here we are again in a 3rd and 7 unfavorable situation.
It's another run, and it's another loss on the play. Purnell had pursuit. It is 4th down, and this defense is testy.
Well, again, watch. They don't sit still. They don't let you hit them. They're a moving target, and then they fast flow, and there's 1, 2, 3. You know what that is called?
What's
That's
that?
called the camera club. You know what the camera club is?
How do you join?
That final picture you see on film, who's in the camera, about the whole defense of Kansas State in that shot.
Edwards fakes everybody out as the ball goes bouncing inside the 15 and rolling all the way to the 10 and maybe to the 9 if it plays its cards right. It's a 65-yard punt. K-State's got them all shed last year in the Duke game in the Sweet 16. They could have been a title contender. That the way they play defense would fit in the Big 12 in football the way it's currently.
Yeah, you see the fits in football, but look at it in basketball, bringing Arizona and Houston to this conference.
A great league this year and beyond. from the 10. A chance for Kansas State to have one of those patented lengthy drives. Giddens breaks the tackle and then comes up with maybe an extra half yard.
This is about the most difficult afternoon Giddens has had.
13 carries, 35 yards.
I mean, we've seen him in pass pro. It looks like Portier, the right guard, is down for Kansas State. He's done a lot of other things, catching it, blocking it, but every yard between the tackles has been hard-earned for DJ today.
Portier has had such injury trouble in his Kansas State career. In 2021, game 1 of 22, he's down right now. Schools for the quote-unquote contenders in the Big 12. Colorado's on the list as well, but here's what's coming up for everybody else. And Iowa State in a real fight with Texas Tech right now. Kansas State has 2 home games. They've been on the road a lot, and then at Iowa State. 2nd down and 8. And Johnson sets and throws, and that is eventually picked off by Wilson. He breaks back this way. Wilson inside the 10. A dangerous throw that was off the mark, and a huge Cougar turnover.
You said this earlier about one of Avery's throws of just being late to a check down. This is a slant route. This is a quick game, and this ball's got to come out. You would think a quick game is not all particularly dangerous. If this ball comes out on time, it's going to be a completion, but it's late, it's high. I talked to you earlier, when Avery misses, it is usually high. A little bit upright, a little bit late. That one spins away, and Houston gains and steals that possession back that they desperately had to have.
And now you're talking about a 1-score game at worst by the end of this possession. Chris, in the power game for the quarterback, ends up at the 6. Romaine went low, Riley went high. Now, how can Houston get in? It's not a good red zone touchdown team.
Well, and they have had a hard time, pushing and getting movement at the point of attack. Yeah, nice chain right there, turnover. That's kind of bright and flashy. And absolutely what Houston needed to bring some life. So we saw creativity work a little bit in the first half down in the red zone. I think you need more of it.
Williams in motion. They'll go trips at the high side. Butler, the freshman, is diving for the pylon, and he is going to be just short of his very first touchdown.
Boy, he's got a little acceleration, doesn't he?
Yes.
I mean, we have not seen much of him this season, and yeah, he is indeed short as Parrish pursues. But I think from an angle standpoint, a little surprised at the just massive acceleration there from the freshman out of Mobile, Alabama.
He wants to become a sports photographer, and he nearly had quite the picture for himself there. Burnett, the tailback. 3 tight ends in. Pop pass over the top. It's Carr, the former basketball player. From Tom Izzo to touchdown.
There's a little bit of the creativity. Here's Carr. He's going to sell block, and Chris knows he's going to get punished. And his ribs are going to hurt tomorrow from that shot from Purnell, just as he elevates for the jump shot. And he tosses it up and alley-oops it to the former hoopster for 6 huge ones.
This feels like one of those games that...
Weird.
Yeah, it's... If you're Kansas State, you just want a touchdown and try to get out of the way of whatever's coming the rest of the night. There's a turnover chain and a big interception for Wilson. Over the top to Carr. And suddenly, the upset alarm is sounding in the background again. 8 games, 4 red zone touchdowns. 2 of them today for the Houston Cougars, who are hanging around Kansas State in this topsy-turvy Big 12. Things are changing by the second here. Texas Tech has taken a lead on Iowa State in Ames. Now Houston is back in this game. Colorado is somewhere on a bye week, real excited about the proposition of both of those results. And BYU is too. So, if Houston does pull off this upset, here's your report card. How we doing so far if you're the Cougars fan?
Yeah, well, I think you're doing pretty well, and it's why you're down just a couple points with 10:58 to play, which is exactly where Willie Fritz would have wanted to be. You'd have had that check mark of stealing possessions because he just got one, but unfortunately that sack fumble before half, I think, negates that. But one special teams, K-State's been struggling there. You flip the field a couple times. And a chance here, exactly what they wanted. Put the pressure on the ranked team in your building. And oh, by the way, the wind and rain isn't going anywhere.
No, make it a one-score game and then see what happens when you toss the coin in the air in a 50-50 game. Johnson straight up the middle, and he crumples down in a heap at the 30.
Yeah, this is time for him to get that checkbox on the other side. Kind of like Lamar Jackson when you watch him play an NFL game. He holds until he's got to play that card in the fourth quarter. And I think now is the kind of drive, especially coming off of the interception, momentum back a little bit on the side of Houston. You've got to see Avery use that gift of his speed.
He's a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan, and there is no better improviser than the quarterback he watches on a weekly basis on Sunday, Patrick Mahomes. Giddens trucks his way across the line to gain in a true driving rainstorm now. I mean, this is... The visibility is low, and the traction is too.
And this should be advantage Kansas State with the size and the strength up front. The two running backs, quarterback that can run. Portier is back in. The right guard looked like just cramps. And this is where you lean on your experience of these one-score games and being able to run the ball. And I mentioned the big tight ends as well.
They're third in the country in yards per carry coming into today, but under 3 per today on an average of 6+ as Giddens is stonewalled by Holmes. But a couple of first downs, and you can really press Houston into a situation where it's one drive or bust.
Yeah, and even now you've given yourself a chance to pin them back. But remember, I think every snap is going to be an adventure if and when you do have to get to that special teams phase of it.
They're on their second long snapper of the day. Andrew Johnson has come in for Olguin. Time slipping away. 2nd and 8. There's another run. Giddens downstairs. Allison Williams somewhere in all of that.
Yes, with this heavy rain coming down, the emphasis for Houston defensively is to communicate and ID those fronts, ID the splits so they can see what the formation is and what their tells are, and then communicate like crazy, especially if you get under 15 seconds on the play clock and that in-helmet communication is gone. They want quick eyes to the sideline and then everybody communicating the call if there's a check with me.
Biggest third down for that man right there, Sheil Wood, the defensive coordinator.
Gripping that wheel hard on 3rd down and 6. Avery Johnson drops it off. Giddens out of the backfield, lost the football, and he'll be short of the line to gain. It's McCutcheon, Latravion McCutcheon, who got the hit, and Kansas State will be in 4th down.
Nice job here. These are physical guys out on the perimeter. It's not just their front. And a nice job to punch that ball away. And at 4th and 3, you have to punt this, and this snap is oh so critical.
It was a 4th down 2 years ago as Olguin is back in. It's a high snap, but it got there to McClannon. It's a 4th down a couple years ago that Chris Kleiman kind of rued against Tulane, and that's a short punt. Good field position for Houston and Willie Fritz. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but his are the only ones that matter. Colin Cowherd, the most interesting man in sports. Don't miss the Herd, weekdays, noon Eastern, only on FS1. Do you like it when I read the card verbatim or when I ad-lib off of it?
A little bit of both.
You want to guess which one that was?
A little bit of both.
Okay. 1917. What is Houston's best bolt here in this deluge?
Yeah, it's awfully nice to have a quarterback that can run. You know, and everything I said about the other side, pulling that card out, might be the time for Zion to do it as well.
He's hit on every pass today. It's a run. It's Sanford snaking his way for 3. There will not be that many possessions left in this game, Brock.
No, there won't. But Willie Fritz, hands on hip, playing through broken fingers down there. The head man of Houston. Look at him. I'm not going to put no slicker on. I don't need no poncho. I've been in this Texas rain and storms like this before. You know this is exactly the way he wanted to be. A one-possession game in the final 7 minutes.
It's like playing a football game in a dishwasher right now. Chris on the run. It'll be 3rd down and 3.5 coming up.
Yeah, sometimes there's like sprinkles and light rain.
Not here.
And then you get this, and that grip is so important. I was listening to Tom Brady talk about this in the Seahawks game. We had the same thing last week, same downpour, and he talked about he actually liked the moisture in the ball and really wanted, like, the referees at the NFL level, they take a whole lot better care. There's a whole lot more footballs to run through. This thing is wet, and that grip is essential.
A drenching rain on 3rd and 3. Purnell showing pressure. Here he comes. Chris runs by 2, and he is going to get stuffed and driven back. And there is a marker that has come in over on the far side.
That's going to be VJ Payne, I believe, offsides. That safety trying to get a head start. And I think he just jumped the gun right at the line of scrimmage.
Peyton Dunn and Ela Leo having some words. That would be a 1st down for Houston off the penalty.
Offside, defense number 41. 5-yard penalty results in the 1st down.
Well, they called it on Austin Moore. I think you could call it right off the edge as well. You can see Payne right here get the early jump. And that helmet looks like that face mask into the neutral zone as your side judge looking right down the line throws the critical penalty.
Enormous penalty.
Game on the line, you know what K-State's going to do. They are going to come after you.
Riley showing it. Here comes Riley. And this run for Sanford gets him to the 45.
So you know you can anticipate pressure. Right, final 6 minutes. Stop you got to have. I mean, they came after Jalen Daniels and Kansas snap after snap after snap. So you have a plan for this. You know what's coming. You're looking down at your call sheet right there, and you got to execute it. And if you get a one-on-one, I mean, pressure usually brings one-on-one, and you get that opportunity, you got to hit it.
Where will the opportunity show itself? It's in the run game for Chris. He's hit, he steps out of the first tackle, and then they do finish him off. Siegel was first. 3rd down. Here's a guy in Zion Chris who they needed some extra points in high school in a track and field meet, so they handed them the javelin, and they said, hey, you got a couple weeks to deal with it. He goes and he wins the javelin.
Yeah.
So, you know, ad-libbing is a thing for him.
Okay, so here you go. Here's 3rd and 7. You're probably going to have an unblocked Wildcat. What are you going to do about it? Go make something happen.
3rd and 7. Press coverage on Manjack at the bottom of the screen. Butler, the tailback. 3rd down for Chris. He climbs the pocket. He gets hit. It's Mott that stopped him, and it's 4th down for Houston. Now do you go or do you not?
What a terrific play for Mott. No, I don't think with a couple timeouts you go. He's going to be way out here, and he's got his eyes the whole time. Why? Because he's played for 6 years. He anticipates a scramble there. He doesn't mess around with the right guard. Eyes up and goes and makes a critical 3rd down tackle.
Going to trust his defense. It's a low snap, and Doherty handled it well. William Doherty gets it away, and this punt checks up inside the 20. So Avery Johnson, couple of 1st downs is what he needs for Kansas State.
Yeah, and you've seen a little bit of everything. You've seen a little bit of the QB run. The 2 backs in the backfield right there. You saw the touchdown pass, a beautiful one right before halftime to Johnson. The absolute best throw and catch of the day for either side today, to his roommate, to his buddy Jace Brown for 50 yards, another explosive play. But here you go, man. This is the life of playing quarterback in the Big 12. Right, especially as we move into November, the games that everybody will remember. How do you do in some adversity? Right, the interception leading to the touchdown that makes this a 2-point game. If your buddy or your idol or your mentor is Patrick Mahomes, he finishes. And right now, that's got to be the mindset of Avery Johnson.
His first touch from the 19. He's going to keep it. Batten tailing him, and Batten flattens him.
Wow.
Closing speed.
Yeah, that was a former quarterback right there. Batten chasing down a speedy quarterback, the leading tackler, one of the best in the Big 12. Look at the range. And he just cuts down Avery before he can start to accelerate.
5 years ago, Batten was closing a taco shop in Texas. Had nowhere to play football. Fell out of love with the game. Big play there. 2nd and 11. And a broken play that time. Johnson didn't know where his tailback was, and Mack with the stop.
Yeah, you're right. Just at the mesh point here, some miscommunication. One goes one way, one goes the other way. And now you are really up against it at 3rd and 11.
Kansas State 4 for 12 on 3rd down. Is there magic in Avery Johnson right now? Third down throw out of the backfield. Giddens, little juggle. He turned his back and he's out of bounds. So 4th down coming up. Houston very quickly will get it back.
We talked about this Houston defense being pretty salty. They just don't bust many assignments. There were not many spots and one-on-ones to be had this afternoon. And Kansas State, a little bit like last week, is going to have to lean on their defense for another stop.
Just moving at the line here.
False start. Offense, number 8, 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
There's always one team in the Big 12 that lives right on the edge, like Wile E. Coyote with the Roadrunner, you know? And it was TCU 2 years ago. They end up going to the national championship game. Kansas State, they beat Colorado in the last couple of minutes. They beat Kansas on the 10-and field goal last week. Here we go again. And they nearly got there. McClannon got it off. Fair catch. Looked like Guzman was screaming in there to try to block that. Mekhi Muse on the fair catch. And Zeon Chriss, who was not the starting quarterback, neither here or at Louisiana at points in his career. He has finished 2nd in quarterback battles. He's been injured before, and he just hangs around and creates plays for his team when he gets a chance, and he's perfect through the air today.
That's remarkable. An 11-11 through the air. You see the rushes and yards, very little production, right? A lot of effort, a lot of want to, just not many yards to be had, but it only takes one. One more broken tackle, one more angle, one more right call versus the pressure that undoubtedly is coming to set up your kicker, who made a game winner a week ago, to do the same today.
His career long is 44, and it's a driving rain that has subsided some. Sanford the tailback. Chriss, perfect today. This into coverage is incomplete. The marker comes in. Jonah Wilson tangling with Garber.
Pass interference, defense, number 1, 15-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
And you know, with all those bodies, they're going to be focused at the line of scrimmage. Look at them all. I mean, they're all coming to the line of scrimmage, so it is one-on-one outside, and just too much contact pushing right through the body. That a last little push through the chest. The most obvious there to the drive from 2 officials, the 15-yarder.
Local product, Wilson from Decaney High School, Houston, Texas.
Look at all the Wildcats up. Man-to-man.
It's a run. Zeon Chriss got his way through, and he may go! Chriss is in! Houston leads out of nowhere! It takes one, you said.
And that was the one. You could see it. Look at all the Wildcats coming right downhill. And for one of the rare occasions, a missed tackle there is, I think, Riley loses his feet. Chriss sees the cutback lane and just too much speed.
Extra point for Martin. He slices it up and through. And Kansas State now, 2:31 left. Gotta go. Here's how it happened.
Yeah, the big fellas. I mean, how many times did the mosh pit look like that and there was no escape room? No escape valve. But that time, and not to just single out one, but Riley is the unblocked defender and just loses his feet a little bit, and then daylight. And for the first time, he hammered, and he hammered, and he hammered, right? 18 times from basically nothing. But that last time, that hammer hit through.
2:31 away from a seminal victory for this Houston program under Willie Fritz, trying to just be bowl eligible this year. The stakes are different, but the amount of chips are the same here for Kansas State and Houston. For the Wildcats, there is a little leeway that they didn't know they would have with Iowa State losing, but the real beneficiaries right now, Colorado,
yes, sir.
BYU.
Yep. Both on a bye and both watching and going, well, you know what? November is going to be as crazy as these guys right here in the Big 12.
Kansas State will have it. Edwards on the approach. He's been great in special teams this year. He's got great speed, but he couldn't keep his feet. Had he, who knows?
They're another 15 or 20 at least.
Okay, so Kansas State in the fourth quarter this year has been outstanding, including Edwards. He had a touchdown. Fabris 60-yard touchdown return off the fumble, a Kansas State victory. Avery Johnson, Jace Brown, not exactly a carbon copy of the touchdown from earlier, but not far from it at Folsom Field. And then last week, Chris Tennant, a 51-yard field goal. It was a home run. It's got to be a touchdown today. Can they do it again? Johnson, near side, wide open, Keegan Johnson.
Well, one of the nice things is you know exactly what you need. You need a touchdown. This is not a drive that, oh, you get in the field goal range. Nope, you've got to have 7, and it starts with plays just like that. That first down is oh so critical.
It is important to note that they only have 2 timeouts left. They cannot give the ball back to Houston likely. That is a spike. Incomplete in front of Jaden Jackson. 3rd and 1. They'll get one more play.
Yeah, that was a really nice stunt by Houston to get into the face of Avery Johnson. Just a 4-man rush, but the pressure in his face caused the down and away fastball.
Now really there is no loss in running for a yard to pick up the first down because the 2-minute timeout is next. It's a free timeout. Giddens, the tailback, a top 10 runner in the nation. He's got this one, and he's got the first down. We'll step aside, and Kansas State has to beat the path of the comeback trail. So far, trying to topple Kansas State. Man, this top of the Big 12 is rough. So here we go, Kansas State. Fans locking in the rain. So is their quarterback, Avery Johnson. First down. On the roll. He'll whip it near side, and that's to the sideline. And looking for Jackson, incomplete.
Well, so far, 2 very different philosophies. You saw Kansas State defensively bring everybody. Houston right now, as it looks like Jackson is down, is decided to just rush 4 and keep 7 in back.
What do you think Kansas State's response to that will be or should be?
Well, the run has been hard, and the run gets really difficult to do, right, with 108 seconds left, even though you got 2 timeouts. But when you see zone like that, number 1, your line's got to pick up some of these stunts and pressures, and number 2, you have to throw with accuracy and anticipation. And you can see the pellets on the face of Avery Johnson. It's been a hard game, right? I mean, he's taken some shots. Giddens has really had a hard time getting the run going. But that's what Willie Fritz and his defense coordinator, Sheil Wood, are saying. Like, hey, if you're going to beat us with precision in the passing game.
Fourth quarter has been their quarter and his quarter. in the defense's quarter so far this year.
And I don't think, is a tight end caught much of a pass today or been much of an impact?
No, Oakley's got 3. Ancio has 1, but not recently. Oakley is in the slot at the top of the screen, the tight end. Johnson throws right down the middle. Intercepted by Batten. What a play!
Can't tell you how good that is, Jason, because Avery's trying to play with anticipation. He's trying to throw it off of the ear of that linebacker. And most of them, Jason, when they drop like that, they don't have the feel and the instinct to turn again. He did. I promise you the quarterback, Avery, sees that linebacker drop and thinks he's dropping in his zone, and I can throw it right behind him. But not with old swivel hips Batten. He turns him, he flips him, and the former QB makes Avery Johnson pay. Surrender Cobra in effect.
He's sitting there on Zoom talking to us 3 days ago using the phrase, I had to get my life back together.
Yep.
2019, 5 years ago, he's out of football. He's sneaking into a game at Oklahoma because one of his high school teammates is playing there. He fell out of love with football, he said, and then found it again. And at the right time for the Houston Cougars. There are 2 timeouts left, but Zeon Chriss is carrying Manhattan, Kansas with him. It's a gain of 3.5 on second down.
That is such a good play.
Let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. It's sponsored by Pacific Life, creating financial security for nearly 160 years.
Just gritty. You said it in the third quarter. This game's going to end weird because really from beginning to end, it was a strange game. Houston scoring in the red zone twice. They did it 4 times all year. Hard yards for Giddens every single time. A huge play before half with the back shoulder fade. But after an interception themselves, they get the pop pass. And then this is why you just keep chopping away.
Well, they've done everything you asked for off the top if they were going to pull off an upset.
Yep, Chriss in the big run, huge. Stealing possessions, took 2 of them. 1 on special teams, no question about it. It's about doing the little things. Not giving a game away. They gave games away this year. They turned it over, and they gave games away. They've not done it and are staring down their 3rd win in the last 4 weeks.
It would take a first down to salt it away. Zeon Chriss in the power game. Kansas State will use that final timeout. And then whatever Houston does here will wean down the clock some more.
Another 40 seconds or so. They've also punted well today. They have flipped the field multiple times. They did the same to Utah a week ago. And this is why the brass at Houston hired Willie Fritz at 61. Right, to add stability, knows how to play it. Had 60 new pieces come in, like, okay, where does everybody fit? He's changed quarterbacks this year. The line is a work in progress. But when you play salty defense, you give yourself a chance every week. And his teams, from Glenn Junior College to Sam Houston State to Tulane to Georgia Southern, have done it. And he's done it everywhere he's been in these last 4 weeks. I'm sure many in the Big 12 have taken notice.
Is there any chance you'd pass it here? Anything above 0%?
No. What is below 0%?
Probably this play call of a run. 3rd and 7. Chriss tucks it and goes. And he will run and run and run some more. And finally, Kansas State closes the door. Okay.
Tick, 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 tick.
You're gonna punt here, probably. But you could also think about 4th and 2.
The punter is punted well. You make him go the entire length of the field for a touchdown.
Agreed.
If it was a field goal, if this was the NFL with kickers and that, you think about it. But I don't think you think about it here. You may try to draw him off sides, though.
Houston has timeouts to spare. Couple of claps, nobody moving.
Take the delay.
There it is. Looks like they're going to call timeout.
Snaps critical. Get the ball up, get the ball out, protect all the little details that you can see the coaching staff and Willie working through.
Yeah, those tight ends in Kansas State, they're going to see the ball again, it looks like.
Yeah, and this is where Jace Brown, right, is got the game-changing speed. He's shown that a few times this season. He showed it earlier, winning the one-on-one, but long odds.
The 2 games this year when Avery Johnson has had multiple interceptions for BYU in this game. It's not only on him, but that does stand out.
Well, in 1910, it was that interception that just gave Houston life.
Doherty to punt. Edwards back to receive, and he's going to want to do something with it. Edwards hemmed in on the sideline. He goes down at the 14.
Look
so
who's there.
I mean, Batten on punt coverage.
Stud. There's neat stories that you want to tell. Right? And Batten story is about as neat as it is. As you can see, it looks like West Texas. Got a long ways to go.
It's a long drive.
Cover.
Flatland, straight ahead.
Yep.
But Jaden Daniels and the Commanders did it. Let's make sure that nobody's taunting the crowd or talking to the crowd on Hail Mary defense. But we've seen it before. No timeouts. 35 seconds. Here comes pressure. Cooper sped him up. Johnson just got it off to the sideline. There goes 6 seconds. It's incomplete.
Yeah, one of the sneaky effective things has just been the impact they've made with 4. When 4 beat 5, and this is a good O-line, but when 4 beat 5 and 7 are in coverage and eyes like that are looking back at Chris Kleiman's Cats and the comfort of having 7 defenders for 4 or 5 eligible players, advantage defense.
Down to 25 seconds. It's a screen. It's Giddens. A lot of black shirts there. He gets crunched. He does have the first down, so the clock will stop as they reset the ball. Time ticking away on a possibly huge upset for Houston. Johnson. Pressure got there again. He steps up and he throws. He has Jace Brown across the 40-yard line, and now he's setting up in a territory where he can heave it and at least have a thought of the end zone.
Yeah, he's going to spike it, I think, here quickly.
Second down, 10 seconds. One play to the sideline.
Yeah, that was one of the critiques in that Washington miracle, right? That Chicago just gave up the yards before the Hail Mary. It wasn't even the Hail Mary. You're in Hail Mary zone, pretty close to it here. I mean, it's going to take a launch of 65 plus into a little bit of a win. So if you have the opportunity to get 5 or 10 more, I think you take it before the final shot.
No timeouts. Got to be to the sideline. Second down. There is a marker in. This is down the middle. It is caught. It's Keegan Johnson, and now we'll check the flag here. There's a marker in. There was a marker on the play. The official's holding it. There was no signal of a decline yet. They'll have to spike it.
Substitution infraction, defense, 12 players. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down. Timer, please reset the game clock to 4 seconds.
So plenty of time to spike it and take one more shot at the end zone.
The official's not ready for play yet. The referee was still signaling and talking to the timekeeper. Steve Barron, the referee, was. It will start on his whistle.
Well, you couldn't have done that much better for Kansas State.
Yes.
I mean, you took care of every last second. You moved the ball 50-some yards. You've got a very manageable I don't even know if I call this Hail Mary. I mean, we saw Colorado beat Baylor, right? And so you see the Cougars on the back end of their defense. They're having conversations. Willie didn't even have to tell them. They know that back line of defense the most critical here on this final play.
Trey Spivey is in. Brown and Edwards at the bottom of the screen. And this is going to be a timeout, Houston. The final timeout for Willie Fritz and the Cougars.
This kind of has that CU Baylor vibe to it.
It does.
When it comes to where you are here in field position, right? You don't have to do the Jaden Daniels hope for a miracle. You can try to formation. You can try to get a one-on-one. You can try to manipulate a little bit. And if you're Avery, this is a throw that if you can throw with enough velocity, you give yourself, like Shedeur Sanders did, a little better shot at it.
They've seen it in this building, Brock. Just last year, Stephon Johnson on the Hail Mary on the tip from Manjack. Zion Chris saying, please, just one incompletion. The thing that he hasn't had today, all he wants is one incompletion from the other guy.
This could also be an opportunity if you have one of those 6'6" tight ends. Right? You have speed on one side of the field, maybe a tight end, but that also means extending this play. One of the keys for Jaden Daniels a week ago, extending this play to give you guys a chance to get down there with a heave-ho.
They have Batten defensively all the way back with Webb and McCutcheon at the back line. Final play, Kansas State. Johnson loads up, fires, end zone, out of the back of the end zone. Houston upsets Kansas State.